creating and sharing incident analysis using ArcGIS Insights. My name is Renee Bernstein. I am a public safety solution engineer based in the Washington, D.C. regional office. I am joined today by Mike Cox.
Hello, I'm Mike Cox. I'm the Director of Fire and EMS Solutions for Esri, part of our public safety team. And thank you for joining us for the 2020 Users Conference.
Today we are going to discuss ArcGIS Insights and how it is used for incident analysis. What is ArcGIS Insights? ArcGIS Insights is a self-service location analytics product. It allows us to visually see our data on maps, charts, and tables. This visual analytics allows us to combine automated analysis along with interactive visualization. We can select fields, drag that and drop that information to where we would like to evaluate it, and then interpret and explore those results and change that information if our question has changed along the way. This self-service analytics is a full circle. We start by connecting to our data, visualizing and exploring our data, manipulating and analyzing it, and taking that manipulation and analysis to design our story. We then explore our results. We have the ability to share those results and start this process over if new questions have formed. You will see this in our demo today. These data connections we talk about is how do we access our data? There are multiple types and numerous sources. We can bring those data sources in and process and access them, as well as store them within our Insights workbook. We then have the ability to export and share those results as well as the data with others. Data-driven analytics is a combination of multiple pieces. It could be qualitative, quantitative, temporal, or location. As you see here, we have the ability to geolocate them via a map, look at those just on a chart, or view them in a table. One of the highlights of Insights is that it captures our workflow. What we mean by workflow models is on the back end of these pages, every click we make to filter, aggregate, or collect information is saved as a process, and our methodology is created. We can add our data, as you see here, filter it out, and that is what creates our table to the right. We're going to see this demoed a little later on, but this is a key point to remember because this allows us to then share our methodology with others. And speaking of sharing, how do we share this analysis? Well, these integrated data sets within our Insights workbook allow us to share the data sets, the workbook as a whole, or a page, whether it be live or static. We can always also put all of this together and create a package to share with others. This utilizes the ability to cross-filter. We can change axes to represent how we want them to look, change the pop-up legends, change coloring backgrounds, as well as include text, video, or images as we see fit. Mike is now going to talk to us how we use ArcGIS Insight for incident analysis.
Thank you, Renee. And I will make a point that the data analysis we are demonstrating today focuses on fire and emergency medical data, but this is an all hazards platform. So you can certainly use any public safety agency that has incident data and analyze that data for identifying gaps in service delivery or where we're having patterns throughout our community of certain types of incidents. But it comes down to how do you want to visualize your data? Typically, when we pull incident data, we get a database view, which tells us a lot. It tells us, the type of calls we ran. It tells us what kind of loss we had, and certainly can identify the highest number of certain types of incidents. But would you rather see this data in a geospatial context? And with Insights, we can pull that data to identify patterns, to identify where the risk is occurring in our community, and just as importantly, bring in demographic information, we can identify who is being impacted by these incidents. And with these analysis, you can measure through things like 90th percentile or understand what our gaps in coverage are and help you deploy resources to fill those gaps. So we're going to take a few minutes and actually demonstrate the platform and the application and how it can be used to understand day-to-day responses or significant responses in the community into an analysis view that is very flexible and incredibly easy to use. But it provides a story that many departments and many public safety agencies may not be telling, and that is, where in our community are we being impacted? We often look at incident data and look at individual units or individual components of our response system. So I can look at one individual, say engine in this case, with this fire data. And by clicking on that engine, I can see what geographic regions they're operating in. I can see what types of calls they're running and at what number. I can see where in the community they're running those incidents. And a simple analysis like time of day, day of the week, which obviously impacts how we staff and how we deploy resources. But what we often don't look at, what we don't consider, is the geography. So this is the response districts, and I can look at one district. So think about budgetary processes. Think about telling your story to elected officials. They may not be as concerned about individual units, but they're certainly concerned about their parts of your community. So I can look at an individual area in a community and see what units are running into that area, what kind of calls they're running. And all this is flexible, so you can filter and analyze the data to answer the questions that are of concern to you. Another example of insights that is pretty powerful is unit hour utilization. And we can have 90th percentile response time goal achievement built into this. We can certainly look at where we're not meeting our response time goal objectives. And this is identifying where are our busiest resources. But again, as most departments look at how busy is busy, we're looking at individual units. So I go down here and I can look at an individual engine company in this case because we're looking at fire data, and I can see how busy that engine is, but I can also see where they're doing their work. So I can see the districts they're running into. I can see what kind of calls they're running, and obviously on the map can see exactly where they're doing their work. So incredibly powerful if we're considering, where do we need to build our next fire station? Where do I need to put an ambulance? Where do I need to post police cars or law enforcement units? So this data is incredibly powerful to do that. In addition, we can push this data out, much like Renee described, share this data and filter that sharing with just about anybody you wish. So you think about your personnel in the district, that are operating, can understand what their performance measures are. And you can also share this to, city, county managers or executive leadership up to an elected official. But we may not want to push that out through Insights. So Insights has the ability to share and export that data very easily. You can share it as a PDF, you can share it as a layer and put it into other visual products. And that's products could be a dashboard. And as we can see here, that same Insights analysis data is pushed out to a dashboard view. So think about this being in a precinct station. Think about this being in a firehouse, that the firefighters, police officers, or other responders can actually go through and filter information that's important to them. So I can look at individual unit hour utilization. I can look at, my 9th percentile turnout time, which is a big issue for us. And I can click on that and do the analysis or do the filtering rather for that individual station or unit. What it doesn't allow is the individuals viewing this dashboard, it doesn't allow them to actually modify the analysis. So they can filter it, they can view the data, but they cannot actually change the analysis or affect the Insights application. So a very useful way to communicate this data to the folks that are actually responding on these incidents. They can understand what their performance is and where maybe they need improvement or where they're exceeding their goals, whether it's response time, turnout time, or whatever the case may be. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Renee for some additional demonstration.
Thank you, Mike. So as Mike showed the analysis that had been done in the area around San Diego, I'm going to do something very similar using the data from Henrico County near Richmond, Virginia. So what we have been provided is data for service calls from 2018 and 2019. So what you're seeing here on this initial page within our workbook, so each one of these is an individual page. The whole thing is called our workbook. is we have several different cards. So each one of these that I'm clicking on is considered a card. So what I've done is I've hidden my table of contents over, but we'll take a look at this real quick. I've brought in my data from 2018. I've brought in my data from 2019 as well as fire districts. And what you've seen here is I've created joins from them so we can associate them together and look at them over association with over the specific districts. So I've got a comparison chart here looking at the 2018 on your right, the 2019 on your left in the red to see what the difference in calls were by year and station, as well as we can look at the 90th percentile for call processing, time traveled, as well as response time. But I want to dive a little deeper into this data. So what I did is I took just the 2018 data and I said, okay, what's in the 2018 data? We have a lot of information in here, but I want to understand it at a more granular level. So now I can take a look at the total calls by month, station, as well as Mike mentioned earlier, knowing the day of the week. But in this case, I want to know the day of the week by the month. What is, has the highest numbers? But we also want to look at, day of the week and hour of the day. When might we need additional staff? When might we need an additional equipment in that area based on the calls that we've seen? So we can take a look at all of this information and see it going through as well as the type of calls, call processing for just 2018, travel time, as well as response time. Now I can go in here and say, I just want to look at, station 6 and see what it is. It tells me what those numbers are, by the call station, etc. And we can take a look at that. But what's really interesting, if you remember early on, we talked about that workflow model. So what you're seeing here is the front end where you're seeing the charts, the table, that actual maps of the data. This is my workflow model. So every click that I made, every aggregation, we can see down at the bottom, I have a join down here where I joined the data and then aggregated it. I changed the style based on colors so I could see that representation. I can change all this out and I have the ability to then share this and recreate this. So by clicking the arrow here, I can do a share as, and I have the ability to share this as a page, as we saw initially, the model, or a theme. In this case, I'm going to share the model. I can label it as I wish, share this out to my organization, and reutilize this. I've gone ahead and done that, and I created a page for 2019. So I'm going to go ahead and open my legend. There's nothing here. I need to add data. So as we said previously, you could drag and drop information here, or I can reach out to my organization that I'm linked, that I'm signed in by my username with, and get the information I need. So I'm going to start by looking for my models. So we see here I have Henrico County 2018 model. I'm going to click on that, but I also need to get that data for 2019. So I'm going to type in Henrico, and that's going to show me all of my Henrico information. So I'm going to take the data for 2019 as well as those fire districts and add them in. Now think about this. I'm adding 2 pieces of data as well as my model in one easy step. So now my maps and my charts are going to come up blank because right now it's associated to 2018. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it from our view now to our analysis view to look at that model. And we can see here it says 2018. Now I can go in here and I can change this to 2019. And the key that we want to take a look at is we want to go down to each one of these fields and make sure that they're matched. And we'll notice that our original field station does not have a replacement field. And I know why this is. So I'm going to cancel out of this and go into my 2019 data. So I'm going to scroll down to find station, and you'll see here, my station currently is listed as a number, but in 2018, we listed it as a string. So I'm going to change that over to a string, go back into my update, hit 2019, and scroll back down, And now you will see that it matches the fields. So I can go ahead and hit update. And you'll see things are starting to move along. But in order to get to those bottom ones down here with the join, I need to also update my fire districts. So I'm going to go ahead and update that as well. So I'm going to hide my legend, my table of contents for the moment. And you can see that this is all updating. We've already got several of our tables and our charts combined, and now we're working on our maps. So we'll go ahead and while this finishes processing, we're going to go ahead and flip back over to our cards. And just like that, I now have duplicated that exact view of our 2018 to now view it in 2019. So now when I look at these calls, I'm not looking at 2018 data, I'm looking at 2019. So through a few simple steps, I was able to replicate that process. This is huge. I'm not having to reinvent the wheel. I know exactly what that methodology was used in 2018, and I've used it in 2019. So now we have this information, but where can I go from this? Mike talked a little bit about unit utilization. So I've taken this a step further and I've gone into that 90th percentile and started to look at our unit utilization here. We want to look at our unit hours by district, utilization by district. We also want to break that down and take a look at this based on call type, the actual sum of the incidents, these units by seconds for the actual calls, what is the district map, the response time by day. These are all very important features and information that we can utilize. So I can say, well, this looks like District 6 is very popular here. What's going on? And as I click 6 on the map, we'll notice that everything changes. So now I'm just looking at 6 within my response day and time, where are the hotspots there. I'm also looking at, what are the, most popular general illness is the most popular call type that they're receiving. And then also we can see that there were a total of, the total unit utilization by hour for percentage was 41% of the time this was out in use. This is important information. We can take this and build additional information off. Now, as Mike also mentioned, this is something that an analyst might want to view. When we're showing this to executives or other individuals that need to see this information, working on budgets or accreditation, I've taken this information and shared it out, and now I've built a dashboard. So this is the same districts we previously saw. We're using the 2019 data, and now I can look and see what the total response times were based on calls. So if we go down and I click on 6, as we were just looking on that, we can go down and see that, the average about 882 seconds for the 90th percentile. I can zoom in on the map where this hotspot is. And as I zoom in, we'll start to see some clusters and then actual points. So these are where some of the hotspots are. And then I can zoom in further and see specific points as well. And I can click on one and get, that this browses, this actual point shows 5 individual points. And now I can see that information specifically for that point. So this is valuable information that we can use to show, a variety of different pieces of the puzzle. When do we need to add more staff? Where do we need to add more equipment? And the questions keep going. Now we can change this and we can build more upon this, but we can also share this. We're in Henrico County. If one of the neighboring counties sees us and likes our methodology and wants to duplicate this with their data, as you saw me do, I can do the same thing and share these models with them that they can then input their data in there and replicate this. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Mike to talk a little bit more about extending your analysis within Insights.
So we use Insights to look at the basic incident response data, but we can also provide analysis that identifies patterns, that identifies where is the risk in your community. And by enriching that data and bringing in things like demographic data, we can understand not only what is happening and where it's happening, but we understand who it's happening to, which is vital for our response model. Using that data, we can identify relationships, and it might be between a certain type of structure and a fire. It might be between a certain type of event and injuries or accidents. And we can use that data to make decisions. And that's really what it's about, getting the right data to the right person at the right time to help make decisions. And this data and this analysis and these visual products are vital in the way we tell our story. And so when we're transparent to the public or when we're talking to our elected officials during the budget process, this data can be very effective in having them understand what are the obstacles we face, what are the challenges we're attempting to overcome, and what kind of resources do we need to meet those challenges. So Renee, excellent demonstration. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. So there's lots of upcoming things coming within Insight. And as you can see here, we've got incoming data, different types of connectors that will be coming. These are the future plans. But I've highlighted a few things that I think directly relate to this session specifically and those that would be watching this. Within the analysis, we're going to be adding more chart visualizations. There's about 6 to 7 options right now. We'll be continuing to add to different types that you can see, as well as how can, with the reporting process, more enhancements in formatting, adding bookmarks. So you can, mark something, people can go back and look at something very specific, as well as time animation. We see this data now and we can view it, as we mentioned, maps, tables, and charts. But what if we were able to look at that over time? So we're not just seeing the numbers, but seeing it play out over time. So these are just a few of the future enablements that are coming. We have also wanted to provide you with some additional resources, as this is a different year for UC. We want to provide you with some resources that you can go and grab on your own. There is another session being pushed out by the Insights team, ArcGIS Insights Data Visualization, Analysis, and Science. I highly recommend you go and find that one. But there are also a couple of links that we wanted to provide you. The first one being the Learn ArcGIS. There is an Insights section in there where you can go and learn all about Insights. You can do 1-hour lessons to up to 10-hour lessons. It will start you with how to get started in Insights to more complicated analysis. The ArcGIS Insights homepage to get some information just on the basics of what Insights is, how it's used, and also some examples of who's currently been using it. Mike and I also wanted to provide you a couple links as well for our Esri Public Safety. We are both members of our public safety team. So here is our industry homepage, as well as a link to our webinar series. This is a great place to bookmark on your computer, keep up to date on. We are forever putting out webinars that you can come and attend. These are free. And then you can also view the videos after they are completed as well. So Mike and I would like to both thank you for joining us. We wanted to provide you our contact information in case you have any questions. So here's our contact information for you. And once again, we'd like to thank you for joining us. And please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions at all. Thank you.